ruler coming and invading Mysore from the north, and Shringeri comes on the way. And the most shameful act that happens, where there also it's in popular this thing, the Marathas came and destroyed. It was not the Marathas who destroyed Shringeri, it was the Pindaris. The irregulars, the Pindaris. The name itself is those who were, who consume a lot of grass, addicted to opium, smoked up, addiction, literally in that days. And they didn't have regular pay from the army. So they depended on loot money and so on.
Non-state actors
With, you could say that.
The Kabilis who came to Kashmir.
Correct. I think something upwards of 60 lakhs or something of jewels and all costly things are taken away from Sringeri. And the Shankaracharya, he sits on a fast unto death in protest. And that sends shockwaves back to Pune. Because if the Shankaracharya died, the Peshwa knew that disaster.
Women were raped in Sringeri.
Realpolitik of trying to snatch, a march over your opponent. But truth be told, I have quoted in the book, both Hyder and Tipu had a long-standing, correspondence with the Shankaracharya in Sringeri.
In the book you write, in both these letters, which is the two letters with this Sri Sachidananda Bharati III, the superstition of Tipu Sultan. What is this? Just today we recorded this podcast with Tilak Deveshar and Sushant Sareen, and we were talking about how Imran Khan, his wife is a Pirni, and he believes in all the Jadoo Tonas and all that. And Sushant was saying that there's a large portion of Pakistani politicians who really believe in all this. And somebody putting a live chicken into the fire and, these kind of black magic practices. That so
Pakistan reminds me, Smita, of another interesting fact. So in 1965, when the Indo-Pak war was going on, there was an Operation Somnath or something that was launched by, look at the term also, Operation Somnath, reminiscent
Ghazi.
of what Ghazni did. And I think they wanted to attack the Somnath Mandir, which had just been renovated. The 5 battleships, the Navy ships that they, commissioned, PNS, there was PNS Babar, there was PNS Jahangir, there was PNS Shah Jahan, there was PNS Alamgir, Aurangzeb, and a PNS Tipu Sultan. Now I can understand the first 4 because, what Pakistan today is, the Mughal Empire was a part of that. But sitting in Pakistan, why were they commemorating a South Indian, Kannada, province of a Tipu Sultan? And in that lies the answer of what Tipu's legacy is. That, who commemorates him, who celebrates him are the people who use these as, humne unko dikha diya. We have vanquished them.
So Imran Khan idolizes Tipu Sultan.
Yes.
He mentioned it just lately, he has said.
Yes, in the parliament too.
Yeah, so he sees himself as a Tipu, in the sense that not born into a sultanate, not having the legacies of like a Benazir's and her progeny. He's risen from the ranks and the valor of Tipu Sultan. So he sees himself as that. He keeps repeating.
They have learned their history well. It's only we, pea-brained Indians and particularly fed with Marxist history, we give a cover fire for all of this, not realizing that in the process you're actually singing that tune.
So then, now you tell me the similarity now between Imran Khan and Tipu Sultan. Why did he believe in black magic?
No,
What was it?
That I think black magic and others, a lot of them did.
But Hindu priests were called in to do puja
Yes. So
all that.
even this whole Shringeri episode, which is brought all the time, in the Third Anglo-Mysore War, you had the large Maratha contingent under Parshuram Bhau, the Patwardhan ruler, coming and invading Mysore from the north, and Sringeri comes on the way. And the most shameful act that happens, where there also it's in popular this thing, the Marathas came and destroyed. It was not the Marathas who destroyed Sringeri, it was the Pindaris. The irregulars, the Pindaris. The name itself is those who were, who consume a lot of grass, addicted to opium, smoked up, addiction, literally in that days. And they didn't have regular pay from the army. So they depended on loot money and so on.
Non-state actors
with, you could say that.
The Kabilis who who came to
Yes,
Kashmir.
correct.
It's the same thing which
tribesmen,
happened.
yeah. History repeats itself
Yeah.
so perniciously.
So because we don't remember or learn from
From
history.
it the first time. Poor thing
Yeah.
keeps trying to tell its,
the
its
story.
Yeah. So the Lamans, they were also a tribe, and most of these were actually Muslim, in the Pindaris also. So these people were the ones who went on a rampage. And obviously the Shankaracharya Math in Shringeri.
And you say that they didn't get salaries. How they survived
Was on loot. So they would go
After
and
the
loot.
war, they would
Yeah.
loot, and that is what was their salary.
Correct.
That plunder which they did was what was the spoils of war which they got.
So some of it, you could say the same of Tipu, that some of the plunder we attribute to him directly. They were irregulars. They were called something Berard or something. They were probably the ones who did this. But in the case of Tipu, there is a clear prescription to the commander: go and do this, go and do that. And
but here the Peshwas didn't do it.
Peshwas never did this. So after the plunder happens, even the Sharada Murti is vandalized, and I think something upwards of 60 lakhs or something of jewels and all costly things are taken away from Shringeri. And the Shankaracharya, he sits on a fast unto death in protest. And that sends shockwaves back to Pune. Because if the Shankaracharya died, the Peshwa knew that disaster.
Women were raped in Shringeri also, right?
Yes. All that was done by the Marathas too. And they did quite a lot of those atrocities. So they don't come out in my book smelling of roses.
Smelling of roses, exactly. Yeah.
So when the Shringeri episode happens, so the Peshwa then writes a lot of letters to the Patwardhan in Miraj, saying, do something, return all the valuables. And he also writes to the Shankaracharya saying, I will give you all the money to renovate the Math and, reinstall the goddess. At that time, Tipu intercepts that and then says, you don't take money from the Peshwa, I will give you the money too. It's almost realpolitik of trying to snatch, a march over your opponent. But truth be told, I have quoted in the book, both Haidar and Tipu had a long-standing, correspondence with the Shankaracharya in Shringeri.
In the book you write, in both these letters, which is the two letters with this Sri Sachidananda Bharati the Third. And you write, in both these letters, he urges the Swamiji, whom he addresses as his Guru, Jagat Guru, to offer prayers to Lord Ishvara to ensure the defeat and flight of the enemies and to bring succor, happiness, prosperity to the people of Mysore. And this is between Tipu and Swamiji. Then he writes to the Swamiji that he had heard of the horrors of the Matha had faced when the Maratha horsemen Kudreavaru. So those who are riding the horses had grievously attacked and harmed the Brahmins in Shringeri, pulled out and vandalized the idols of goddess Sharda. And looted the place of all its possessions and treasures.
He also quotes some Sanskrit verse. Something, there's a
in that, Hasavidda Kriteya Karma Rudabhira Anubhuteya, which is the acts of foolishness committed in smiles but without any foresight. One often pays the price through tears and sufferings later. Anubhuteya. Okay. So this is what he says, and he calls it Guru Droha, which has happened. And the Swamiji then flees to Karkala along with 4 of his disciples, which by the way is my hometown.
Oh.
So, yeah. And it's also the Karma Bhumi. Anyway, okay, let's leave that part out. Anyway, so he flees out there. So there is this, this is what a lot of people say, that he supped with the devil. So no offense made to the Shankaracharya of that time, but he did try to save the Matha by making a peace deal with Haidar and with Tipu. With both of them.
And but the proof of the pudding is, one is, as I said, the Peshwa never had sent out letters that on the way go and break all the temples and so on. These people did that. There were so many apologetic letters that came from Pune. Later. And this one, of course, stole a march and, got it reconstructed as one medal in his name, to also assuage the Hindus to an extent. But 1 year after that, the Shankaracharya actually makes a trip to Pune. He's invited at the darbar there. He's richly honored and all of that. So if there were tension between the two, he would not have gone there.
But the
I think
Sringeri episode is
held up as some
Yeah.
secular credentials of Tipu Sultan.
of Tipu Sultan, because
which
his ring of Shankaracharya is also found, which you have written rebutted out here. So explain to this ring of Shankaracharya to find it.
There's no evidence at all of that. They say he wore a ring with the name Ram on it, and that was given by the Shankaracharya. There's no evidence anywhere that this was actually there. It was found in Srirangapatna after his death, and it was taken off to London. It crossed several people's hands, and I think recently it was also sold in an auction somewhere. And there also the auction product description itself says it's very unlikely that he always wore it, because when his dead body was found also, every detail of what he wore was accounted by Alexander Allen, Beatson and all these officers who went on that search party to look for his body. They say he wore no ornament whatsoever.
No, there was that bejeweled
Which they
belt.
took away, the soldiers, to kill him. But there was no other ornament on him whatsoever. Why would they not write this, that, he had this nice ring?
Maybe somebody stole it.
Or maybe,
whatever,
but there's no proof that he always wore it. So you're literally clutching at straws, I mean, he gave some grant here, he did this. Most of those grants also have busted here. They say so many temples. I think a lot of those grants started during Haidar's rule, including what they say in Nanjangud. There's that Hakim Nanjunda. There is a Spatikalinga which they attribute to Tipu, but it was actually Haidar who gave it. His favorite elephant had fallen ill, and someone said this is a very powerful temple. It can solve all maladies, and so the elephant was taken there, some incantations done, and it became fine. And so he said this is Hakim Nanjunda. He's the doctor. So that's how he donated it. But that also is actually attributed to him, even by the temple, actually, Tipu Sultan's donation. But actually the records show something
Haidar.
else. It was Haidar. The Guruvayur temple also, on the one hand, he wanted to destroy it. So how did it not get destroyed? There was a guy called Haidros Kuti who was there, who was actually a Nair converted to Islam. Still there's some affinity to your old religion. So he somehow managed to protect and probably leaked the information that he's going to come and attack. And it is at Haidros Kutti's intervention that the Guruvayur temple got saved. And many of those grants, there's some silver cups or something which is given to Ranganatha temple and various places. That also, if you see on the back, it is actually about 50 years before Tipu. It was actually given by someone else. There are double
But there's
entries.
that superstition also?
He gives it to the temple, takes it back, and then gives it back in his name. Several.
But you write about the superstition that he was told that Ranganatha, the name Ranganatha, which Anand, please watch. This is about.
He's a terror even now for a lot of bigots.
That anything with the word Ranganatha would be.
Survival. Poor Hindus had to come up with all kinds of crazy tactics.
So they told him that anything with the word Ranganatha.
I think he had some manic fear for that word. And so someone in Melkote, a very senior scholar, he told me this in an interview, that these Brahmin priests, so this guy was so superstitious because his life was so uncertain, and particularly after the Third Anglo-Mysore War, when you don't know what's going to happen. Every day you're in tension. Someone could come and kill you. He was sleeping in a hammock which was suspended midair. He was always worried that someone will assassinate him. In that, you fall to astrology, divination, omens, dreams, all these things. Do anything to survive. Doobte ko tinke ka sahara type of a thing. So in that, these astrologers and Brahmins whom he said, they told him that 3 types of idols you should not molest.
Yedakallu.
Yeddakallu. Which is
standing.
Standing
Oh,
idol.
I thought Yeda.
Yedda.
Yeddakallu.
Biddakallu, which is a fallen stone. And Gundakallu, which is a round stone. So that almost covers all the type of Hindu deities, right? The standing idol was the Cheluvanarayan Swami in Melkote. The Biddakallu was the Ranganatha in Srirangapatna, lying on the Sheshnag. Gundakallu was the Nanjangud Shiva, so the round thing. So he gave many grants to these, and he was specifically told that if you molest these deities, then your rule will end. And Ranganatha you should not touch. Then your rule will end.
The Chamundeshwari temple.
Chamundeshwari also, this Haidar had tried to break. The priest put a fake idol in front, and he comes and that duplicate one with a nose cut or something is still there in the Chamundeshwari temple.
So why did he, if he was such a devout Muslim, why did he ask these Hindu priest to perform pujas for
That
him?
is the whole hypocrisy of it, which Wilkes also talks of. On the one hand, especially after the Third Anglo-Mysore War, when you had to cough up funds for paying out that indemnity, all the grants of the Hindu temples were taken back. At the same time, the same Brahmins are being asked to do all these japas and pujas and homas and all that for him, which even the Shankaracharya does a Shatachandi homa and a Sahasrachandi japa and all of these things. Maybe, again, survival and to get their dakshinas and so on. They did what they did. But that is a hypocrisy. On the one hand, you disenfranchise them, and on the other hand, take their help only. And he knew astrology quite well himself. He had learnt, he knew how to look at his own chart every day. He was almost like Humayun, so superstitious. Should I put my left leg front or right leg? And that's how he
Did
slipped
Humayun
off the library and fell.
But this guy burnt libraries.
Who?
Tipu Sultan,
No.
He burnt documents? No?
Some of the old Vadiyar documents. They were all ground and actually manuscripts given to...
See, I've read your book.
The horse stables, yes. Totally. It was such a small footnote.
Please notice I even read about how Hyder was getting his shaving done and plucking out the hair. Oh, disgusting stuff. And I was like, why does Vikram document such gory, minute details? But it makes you understand what these people were all about. And Tipu was very conscious about his bald head, I think, right? All the paintings and everything has him with the cap.
Correct, so that it covers the baldness.
But when he died, there was no topi.
Yeah, which is what they document and grandly show that he was hairless on the head.